One breath, 10 seconds of silence, and thousands of eyes fixed on one point. BTS's Jin is back. But what happened before that moment? And why does the world seem to hold its breath ahead of the first steps on stage? No one was really prepared to witness the return of a figure who has become not only a global music icon, but also a symbol of the emotional resilience of millions of people. When BTS's Jin was announced to be holding his first post-enlistment concert in Los Angeles, expectations immediately soared beyond reasonable limits. But the public saw only the final result: the rumble of the stage, the glare of the cameras, and the calm smile of the star. What they did not see were 10 barely highlighted moments, which make up the psychological, technical, and emotional foundations of this historic concert. These moments are not just small snippets from the preparation series of an idol. They are serious fragments that imply tremendous pressure, a global production strategy, and a silent crisis that does not appear on the surface. And today, we will delve into them one by one. From the choice of a secret location to an inner pause that only the genie herself understands. 1. Silent arrival at LAX, HYBE's most secret logistics operation of the year. There was no official response from the media, no public announcement, but underground cameras and fan footage proved that BTS's Jin had arrived at Los Angeles International Airport on a wet night, amid tight security. Some sources mention that HYBE used 3 different logistics lines to ensure his arrival was not put in the spotlight prematurely. This was the beginning of a grand plan that involved not only artistic teams, but also security, health protocols, and tacit coordination with the airport authorities. Did I ask this just an ordinary form of caution? No. An internal source said that HYBE did not want Jin's emotional momentum to be taken away by the frenzied paparazzi. A calculated move that signals, this concert is not an ordinary entertainment event. 2. Closed rehearsals in a secret studio. No cameras, no additional staff. Behind the scenes, Jin underwent a series of vocal and choreographic rehearsals at an undisclosed studio. Even some of HYBE's permanent staff were not allowed in. Why is this exercise performed in very closed conditions? There are 2 main reasons. First, the genie wants to focus her energy fully, without external interference. Second, there was a new element in his stage performances that he had never explored before: raw emotion that could only be built through silence and rehearsals without public scrutiny. According to her vocal coach, Jin had an 8-hour session nonstop in a room that had no windows, as a form of strengthening character and emotional stability. 3. Private psychologist consultation. Mental stress on the eve of a concert. Not many know that on the eve of this concert, Jin voluntarily scheduled a special session with a stage psychologist. This is nothing new in the K-pop industry, but in the case of Jin, who has just completed his military service, this step has become very significant. HYBE's contracted psychologist assisted Jin in developing stress visualization techniques, adrenaline management, and acceptance of the burden of global expectations. In one of the internal notes leaked to Korean media, it was stated that Jin had said, "I'm not afraid to perform. I'm afraid to disappoint the world." The sentence described an intensity of pressure that many people around him could not even understand. 4. Secret meeting with BTS members in South Korea via teleconference. One day before leaving for LA, Jin is said to have held a private video call with all BTS members. No staff took part. It is an emotional encounter, full of silence, short laughter, and inner strengthening. An internal source said that RM had delivered a touching message. "You're not just performing for them. You performed for all of us, Jin." This support serves as a reminder that even though he stands alone on stage later, Jin carries the spirit of 7 people and tens of millions of souls. 5. Test your own voice in an empty venue. Let me hear it first, before the world listens to it. The night before the concert, Jin asked permission to enter the arena in an empty and silent condition. None of the crew entered. He stood in the middle of the stage, singing a song in full. There was only him, the echo chamber, and the microphone. This action is not imaging. It's his personal method of understanding space, merging with the stage, and adjusting emotions to the acoustic environment he'll be facing tomorrow. In an unofficial interview recorded by the in-house crew, Jin said, "The stage is a friend, not an enemy. But like any old friend we meet again, I need time to get to know him again." 6. Emergency choreography training session. Jin's body refused, but he forced further the day before the final rehearsal. Jin suffered a minor disruption in his left shoulder muscles as a result of repeated choreography rehearsals for more than 4 hours. HYB prepared private doctors on site directly provide compress treatment and light therapy. But the surprise was not the injury, but Jin's own decision to continue the training session. He only asked for a 20-minute pause, then again stood in the line of choreographic exercises, albeit with limited movement. According to a report from one of the senior choreographers, Jin insisted on completing certain movement sequences because, according to him, fans won't see the pain. They'll just see if I appreciate them or not. This is a statement that shows how much he understands the artistic and emotional responsibility behind his first concert post-enlistment. 7. Sudden change of staging. Jin rejects excessive special effects. A few hours before the main stage trial, Jin personally reviewed the lighting design and visual effects that the creative team designed. According to an internal source, he expressed his disapproval of the use of fire and explosion sound effects, which he considered too distracting from the message of the song to be performed. This decision immediately forced the technical team to make major revisions at a fast pace. But Jin's reasoning isn't just technical. He said that this time the audience came not only for entertainment, but also to see the human being returning from silence. For Jin, too many technical errors would actually disrupt the emotional silence he wanted to convey in his performance. He chose a more minimalist and deep approach, creating a more intimate atmosphere in the middle of a vast arena. 8. Personal message to the staff. Jin sent a handwritten letter before the concert. One thing the public didn't know was that Jin wrote handwritten letters to all the staff involved in the concert, from the stage manager to the logistics staff and shuttle driver. The letter is short, personal, and each is given the name of the recipient. In his letter, Jin not only thanked them for their work, but also expressed his hope that the concert would be a meaningful experience, not only for the audience, but also for all those who work behind the scenes. This action shows the emotional leadership side of Jin, who has often been considered a witty person, apparently harboring a very human depth of attention to those around him. 9. Video call secretly with his mother. "I should be fine." A few hours before the concert began, Jin made a personal call with his mother from the backstage preparation room. No cameras, no crew. But someone from the wardrobe team accidentally heard a fragment of a sentence spoken from Jin. "I should be fine. They've waited too long." The sentence then becomes an internal symbol of the team as the working spirit of the day. Not a single crew member did not get goosebumps. It's not just a comeback concert. It's a child's responsibility to his family and to the world that loves him. Jin, unknowingly, points out that the pressure of a global celebrity is never far from a fragile and human personal dimension. 10. Midnight dress rehearsal, a secret session without an audience, but full of meaning. After all formal rehearsals were completed and the arena was declared closed, Jin asked for special permission to undergo an additional rehearsal at 0:30 in the morning. In the conditions of a completely empty arena, the stage lights were turned on halfway and only a 5-person technical team accompanied. Jin stood in the middle of the stage, singing 3 songs without the audience's voice. But he imagined them present. According to the light crew, Jin even bowed at the end of the song like he had just finished a full concert. When asked why he did that, Jin only replied briefly, "I don't want the first time greeting them to feel foreign to me." This is the moment that shows that even a superstar needs time to make peace with the stage before welcoming the world back. Closing the concert as a representation of personal resilience. These 10 moments are not conceived to build a heroic narrative. It is a vivid account of a series of processes that a global musician goes through in very complex conditions: media pressure, public expectations, personal tensions, and the transition from the military to the world stage. BTS's Jin concert in Los Angeles wasn't just a musical moment. It is a form of self-reconstruction that is carried out consciously, strategically, and emotionally. Now, the question is posed to all of us. Do we just see this concert as entertainment? Or can we read the deeper layers of meaning behind Jin's performance? Do we realize how much energy it takes a person to get back on his feet in front of millions of eyes after living a completely different life for 2 years? And most importantly, is the public ready to welcome the figure of Jin, who is no longer just a star, but an individual who returns home with a new version of himself? This concert has already been completed, but the narrative is just beginning. The genie did not just return. He set a new standard for all who want to make art a mirror of personal courage.